You can tell.
All right. Okay, well, hello, OAC. We are so happy to finally be here. We're a few minutes late. We had some technical issues, but we got it all sorted out. We're kind of a mishmash of people here tonight. Three of us are from the Political Action Committee, and then we have Carrie Monahan joining us. Our purpose for joining you guys tonight is to fill you in on some of the fun and exciting things that have been happening lately, as well as letting you know of the things that we have coming up in the next 2 weeks. As you all know, there's a big election happening on June 2nd. The OAC is in overdrive. As you all know, we've the OAP is in a bit of a state of disaster, and this government has really not done anything to fix it. And despite 4 years of advocating, things have not been moving nearly fast enough or nearly in any kind of positive direction. So really our feeling here is that our best bet for children to finally come off of a very, very long wait list and hopefully have a program designed that will work for our children is, we hope that maybe there might be a new government elected on June 2nd. So we've been working really hard to get our message out that this government has failed our children. I'm going to take a minute to introduce everybody we've got here. Most of you all probably know Bruce. He's one of the co-founders of the OAC from many, many eons ago. He is a former president of the OAC. And he now sits on the Political Action Committee, and he's on the board of directors, and he's an all-around fun guy, right, Bruce?
Couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you. Checks in the mail.
Yeah. We've got Sarah here. Sarah wears lots of hats in the OAC. She's on the board of directors, as well as she is our volunteer coordinator. So you probably see a lot of her posts on the page, always trying to drum up some engagement, which is one of our motives for this meeting, just to be transparent. And she's also newly on the Political Action Committee because it just made sense that she was so entwined with everything we were trying to do that she should be sitting with us and meeting with us. So we're glad to have her on that committee. And she's also on the OAP Working Group Committee. So which then brings me over to Carrie, last but not least, my favorite advocacy partner here in Ottawa, who is also on the board of directors. I guess all of us are on the board of directors.
We are.
And but Carrie is the co-chair of the OAP Working Group, and I don't know if we have an official title, but you are maybe the president of the Twitter group.
Okay, yeah, we'll take that. Okay, sure.
We should come up with a proper title for that because you and Alina are just killing it. But we're all going to talk about some various things. I'm going to just start by briefly going over some things we've been doing in Ottawa. Some of you guys have probably seen our posts and our Facebook lives, and we were lucky enough to get a bit of media the last couple weekends, which has been really nice. We started in May by doing protests actually it was probably in April we started, closer to the end of April, doing protests every other week. We've got 3 PC MPPs here in Ottawa. Lucky for us, there's 3 big ones who have all been involved with the dismantling of the Ontario Autism Program. So I think Carrie can probably agree that we feel a particular responsibility here in Ottawa to make sure that that these 3 MPPs are getting the attention that they deserve. Not good attention, of course. We've got Marilee Fullerton, who is the current minister in charge of the autism file. Lisa MacLeod, of course, who, sorry, Bruce.
It hurts Bruce so much.
Her name.
It hurts him. Look at his face.
Burns.
It hurts him so much.
But I don't know that everybody watching would understand if I just said that woman, because that's what Bruce usually calls her. But anyway, that woman, now that we all know, is the woman who started this whole mess. And she's still here in Ottawa. She may not be involved with the autism file anymore, but we still have some problems with her because she still sits there in the legislature and claps along and is very much in support of what's going on. And, you know, really we all kind of find that she's responsible. So, so we're trying to give her some attention. And then we also have, last but not least, Jeremy Roberts, who is probably like the only MPP who's really been involved with the autism file for this whole 4 years that they've been in office, and he still very much is. So we've been trying to hit them all, and we've done a pretty good job. I'm gonna bring it over to Carrie because we had two particular rallies that were of kind of interest. They weren't really our regular rallies; these were campaign launches. And I'll go to you, Carrie, to talk about Lisa's first, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, no. So we had been, as Kate mentioned, sort of shuffling back and forth between these three MPPs, and then the campaign launches started, and these are held at different locations, at campaign offices versus constituency offices. So we decided that we were going to hold a protest, and typically, to sort of paint this picture, what a protest is necessarily is a bunch of families who bring their children and stand in, you know, like autism themed t-shirts, OAC t-shirts, holding handmade signs with pictures of their children. We bring some OAC lawn signs to sort of decorate the lawn with. Sometimes we have Scott Corbett there who'll bring music, and we stand and we wave at cars, and they honk for us. And this is essentially what happens. And we make sure our kids don't run into the intersection. So it's, you know, it's a group effort. It's kind of social. It's, you know what it is? It really is community engagement. It's uplifting for us because we get those honks of love, as we call them. And it feels really, really good when you feel as bad as you do about policy to know that there are people that are driving by that see you standing there for your child, and knowing, like, and giving you a honk to say, yeah, I see you. There's a validation there that makes you feel really, really good. So there's your picture that's painted. When we're lucky, we get some media. We often hold our protests on the weekends simply because it's easy for parents to attend, but that's not always the best time to draw media. Where they're not as present on the weekends, but we've been lucky. So Lisa MacLeod held a campaign launch. Lisa MacLeod is my MPP. And that's something I want to just add on to as far as what Kate said. A lot of the heavy hitters at the OAC, like Lisa is our MPP. So I've been trying for years to talk to Lisa, as has my husband, as has Scott Corbett. You know, there's lots of us here that have who want to talk to our MPP. So this is another reason why we're there so often. But in any case, on her campaign launch day, we were standing there, and ultimately Lisa's people called the police. It was a private event, which was publicly advertised. You had to RSVP to go. We had some parents approach the building to see if they could speak with Lisa or to hear about her platform. And that was no good. Police were called. It's also important to note that this was happening at the same time that we had the Freedom Rally happening. So we had the convoy-esque people coming into Ottawa downtown. So there was heavy police presence downtown Ottawa, and where Lisa is on the outskirts, sort of in the suburbs of Ottawa. So there were 4 officers who came and told us what we were doing was absolutely fine. In any case, this got some attention, which is good for us at the end of the day. But it really emphasizes the relationship, the very contentious relationship that we've had with Lisa MacLeod. And, you know, like it helps to spread our message. We were fortunate to have a lot of attention from the community. We had a lot of honks. We had neighbors who were coming out to speak with us, to ask us what was going on and why we were fighting, to look for more detail, because the media doesn't always provide that much detail, and we know it's a super complex issue. So anyway, that's how that all went down, and then that led to going to Jeremy Roberts' not constituency, campaign office. Was it the week after? I think it was the week after, to visit him and do the same type of thing. And again, lots of honks, lots of engagement. We even had some of his supporters come out and tell us that they supported us. Now, what that meant necessarily, whether they were supporting our right to protest, or they supported us being there for our children, who knows. But again, these are opportunities. These are opportunities for us to, no, Bruce, like, I think it was genuine. A lot of these folks
Okay.
that were coming out, but, just like, thanks for being here, ladies, or whatever. Like, it is what it is. But again, these are opportunities for us. We had some media, and that's how we've been pushing forward. And then, Kate, if you want to continue with respect to what we did this past weekend.
I'll also mention about the Lisa McLeod.
With
the police is what she said on the inside.
Yes, that's the important bit. Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was at a different rally downtown, so I wasn't there to experience all this, but she did a Facebook Live, kind of like what we're doing right now, and did her big campaign speech on a Facebook Live. So later on in the day, when we were all at home, we were able to see her campaign speech that she was giving while all the parents and their children were outside dealing with the police. She came out to, your typical political hands and hugs and all the rest of it, people cheering her on, as should happen, I guess, at a campaign launch. But then she went into this long speech where she detailed, the threats and intimidation and all of these terrible things that happened to her for the last 4 years, and how once again today, she said specifically today, they're outside trying to steal my voice, trying to steal your voice. I mean, it's just
shame.
It's important to note, right, that like, it's election season. Lisa is campaigning. We are not accountable to her. She is accountable to us. A lot of the people that were standing outside that day were her constituents, and we are people who have continuously tried to connect with her, because we won't get into what happened to Lisa, but there's some history there, and she has managed to sort of drag that, paint our community with a very broad brush, saying that we are bullying and intimidating, and it's uncomfortable, it's unfair, it's wrong. I mean, to say the actions of one are being placed on 53,000.
Well, it's an outright lie. Right?
It is an outright lie.
Traffic. You didn't stop anyone from going in. You weren't even chanting or cheering and trying to disrupt, right? So
no, we had children on scooters. We had a little play tent. We had Timbits, strollers.
Crazy.
So, yeah, it's at least what's important to note as well there too, Kate, is that Lisa, I mean, she could have chosen to ignore us. She could have chosen not to live stream her campaign speech, and she could have chosen to not talk about us while she was live streaming. It's a perpetual self-victimization here, right? Painting us as the bad guys and trying to get on top by stepping on our backs and hoisting herself up. And it's not right. I mean, she works for us. And because she had a hard time 4 years ago, I mean, if she experienced what she experienced and was hurt by it, I mean, I don't begrudge that at all. But to continue to use that as an excuse to not interact with her own constituents because they happen to have children who are autistic, that says to me, if she's that hurt, if she's that bothered, if she feels bullied or threatened, maybe her job shouldn't be in public office.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the fact of the matter is, she knows who you are, Carrie. She knows who your husband, Pat, is. She likely knows who Scott Corbett is. She definitely knows who Rhonda is. She knows who I am. She has one of her goons come out and take photos of us when we're protesting. Like, I don't know about you, but I picture she's got some back room in her constituency office that has a wall of just our photos with various like lines attached to who knows who and what's going on. I don't know. Maybe we don't mean that much to her, but what I'm trying to say is that she knows that we're not. How many times did we protest? Like, it's got to be in the like close to 100 if you add like
dozens and dozens of times.
We were there twice a week. Like, we never once did anything bad. We never even blocked traffic or harassed anyone. She knows that, but it's better for her to act like her safety is an issue and we're these terrible, terrible people. Anyway, we put enough.
Tell us about this past weekend, Kate.
Talking about that woman. So we're going to move on, but just to finish off with what we have going on here in Ottawa. So those are the things we have been doing. We had another successful protest at her office this past weekend. Got more media, and that was really great. We had, at the height of it, we had about 50 people, and which was really great, because what we're seeing here in Ottawa is that we've been at this now for a couple of months after a long break because of COVID, and people are re-engaging that we hadn't seen. People who are new and are just sort of seeing what we've got going on and now wanting to be a part of it. And it's really great. We're getting, almost every time we do this, we're getting a few more people.
I think, Kate, like, people are recognizing how important it is right now. That if you're going to come out and stand with us, now is the time. Like, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, this important to highlight, right?
It. Yeah, no, it's very important. So we're going to continue trying to get in as much as we can in the next 2 weeks. We're tired here, but it's only 2 weeks to go. So this week alone, we caught on Friday. So 2 days from now, I'm putting together a small group to sit outside Jeremy Roberts' office on lunch hour on Friday. Later in the day, our friend Rhonda, everybody knows Rhonda, she's been a real trooper this week, and she's been standing alone in front of the candidate in her riding of Orleans. She's going to do that on Friday, and I think she's gathered a few more people to join her. So that's great. We're going to take a brief break on Saturday and Sunday. It's the long weekend, and it would be hard for us to get people to come out. So we're going to take Saturday and Sunday off. But on Monday, we're going to hopefully get a big crowd at Marilee Fullerton's. So we're doing that Monday mid-afternoon. Hopefully anyone who's gone to town will be back in time to join us. And that's sort of what we have on the hopper. Other than that, we've been busy putting up signs around the city. I know everybody's seen the photos of the signs. We've been posting them on the OAC. We've had a couple issues with signs here in Ottawa. But we continue going around and fixing those signs. But we did so well with our signs that we put in a second order of signs. Which has been, we have a great crew of people. A big shout out specifically to Sonia and Sophie and Sonia's boyfriend, Matt, who have worked their butts off getting these signs on the ground. It's not just the lawn signs. The lawn signs are pretty easy to just put the metal thing in the ground, but the big 3x4 signs, I went out one night. It's not an easy task to pound them down,
to drive those things into the ground.
Yeah. So anyway, we've gotten 40 of them in the ground here in the 3 ridings in Ottawa, which is great. And I think since we're talking about signs, I'm going to go over to you now, Bruce, and you can maybe talk about what's happening with signs elsewhere in the province.
Well, it's the same thing, and I'm really proud of folks all over the place. We're also into our second order of signs. We have sold out, basically. I have a handful left that we're going to be turning into just picket signs for protests. We do have large signs, and as Kate has explained, it's not an easy thing to get these things in the ground. We've got like 6-foot poles. You got to have either a sledgehammer or a post pounder. It's a bit of a production, not to say that you can't, but it's more than just putting a lawn sign in your lawn. But what we really need your help with is locations. Pat McKenna, whom I'm sure many of you know, Miko Van Speck, also famous in song and story, and I have been a 3-man wrecking crew on signs for the last couple of weeks, and we've done pretty well, but we've kind of done all that we can sort of south of Lawrence Avenue in Toronto, because frankly, the farther south you get, the less public property that has grass. So, you can't pound those things into concrete. So if you know of high traffic intersections, and especially if you have a property that is on a street that gets a lot of traffic and a lot of visibility, and you're willing to let us put one up just for a couple of weeks, we'll put it up, we'll come take it down. But these things are not doing any good leaning up against the fence in my driveway. They need people to see them, and they look just like the lawn signs, the whole, Ford doubled the autism wait list. That's our message. That's how they have failed us, among other things. But that's what they look like. You're not getting into any hot water by putting this thing up. We are a registered third-party advertiser with Elections Ontario, and it says so on the sign. So if you've got a spot, we'd appreciate it. If you've got suggestions of intersections that we should hit, we're open to that too. So just, rather than us driving around looking for places, give us a bit of direction. Shout out to Chantal Roy Johnson down in Windsor for having lined up the second order of signs and taken over signs there. Gail Willette in Sault Ste. Marie, the lovely and talented Sarah Kidler-Patier, and Sean Stadden, who is talented but not nearly so lovely, up in Sudbury. They've been killing it with signs there as well. So we are province-wide, and anything that you listen, here's a point that really needs to be made. All of the things that you're going to hear about us talking about tonight are easy. We've made things as easy as we possibly can for you to participate. And that's what we need you to do. This is go time, and this is our best opportunity to have an impact on the government. Whether these guys get reelected or not, even if we're able to just bump off one of their members, they take us more seriously. So, we're now beyond, thanks, we appreciate what you do and the likes. We appreciate that, we do. But it's not that much to just do one of these things. So listen to the list and find something you like, because it's easy stuff. Worry is, we all, 4 of us and all the others, took our first step at some point. So you're probably going to get sucked into the middle of the hurricane. But don't let that worry you. Don't let that worry you. Just make a move. Get started.
And that's what I'm here for. I get lots of messages daily, lots of messages, and I try and help out as much as I can. I direct people to where they need to go. I just want to say a huge shout out, like Bruce said. Number one, we've heard a lot about the Ottawa crew. Like, huge props to the Ottawa crew. You guys are killing it. And like you mentioned, you have those MPPs there, you have those staffers there, and they're not willing to meet with you, and that's not okay. That's their job. So remember that, guys, this is their job. But the Ottawa crew is killing it. There are so many people, like Bruce mentioned, Gail Willette. Gail Willette has 5 autistic children. She drove to me all the way from Sault Ste. Marie and Sudbury to come and pick up the signs and drove straight back. Like, that's dedication, commitment, and understanding of how important an election issue this is.
Gail's hardcore. Way to go,
Right?
Gail.
Oh, Gail is incredible. And I'll be mentioning her after too. But we can't forget Jessica in London either. I mean, and we've got a bunch of people, every person putting up signs in your lawns. Incredible. Reach out to me, like Bruce said, reach out to me. Let me know if you have a spot or a place for large signs. And I will send that off to Bruce. So that's what I've been doing. I've been coordinating with Bruce. It's a lot of long hours. It's a really big province, but we're doing a great job. You guys are doing a great job. But like Bruce said, we need you guys to step up, and now is the time. So
You know why? Sorry to interrupt, Sarah, but I was just going to say, like, we're, as a collective, not just Ottawa, we have them on the run. Wouldn't you say, Bruce? I mean, they're scared of us. They don't like these signs. They don't
Guys,
like what we're doing. There's a reason why they don't post where they're going every day, because they know that if they do, we're going to be there. And I mean, it isn't just us. There's other groups as well. You know, we're not the only people this government has done wrong. But the point of the matter is, we have them on the run. I know the polls say, I mean, what do you think, Bruce? So you're so political. You know about this stuff. What do you think?
I nerd out on stuff. Listen, okay, just full disclosure, I used to be a conservative. I think pretty well everybody knows that. But I worked on my first election campaign when I was 12 years old. I've been at this for a while. One of the things that I've noticed over the last 20 or 25 years, the electorate makes its sort of collective decision later and later in the campaign period, closer and closer to election day, that everybody kind of goes, yeah, we're all doing that. Up until then, it's maybe, okay, I think I'm leaning, but the decision tends, and the other thing that we've sort of come to associate it with is just about every election campaign has a long weekend in it. And everybody gets away from work and they go up to the cottage. I mean, Doug certainly does. But it's like downtime. And maybe there's a lot of family around. And you talk about what's important and what you liked and you didn't like about what you heard in their platforms, and what you liked and you didn't like about, well, what went on over the last 4 years. And that's kind of when the decision coalesces. And that time isn't even here yet. And there are some big things other than that between now and election day that are going to influence, I am quite convinced. Tomorrow morning at 9:45, the Supreme Court of Canada is going to deliver its decision on the lawsuit that is trying to get the Ford Conservatives to release their mandate letters. Now, mandate letters are not notes to the hunk that you were out with Friday night. They are, sorry, I had to, I'm like that.
I thought it was fun.
The marching orders that the Premier gives to each cabinet minister at the beginning of their mandate. And it's been the tradition that governments release these to the public, because it's their, apart from the throne speech, it's sort of their, this is what we're doing and you should like it. But the Ford people have not only refused to release theirs, they're defending against a lawsuit from the CBC to get at them. And they've taken it all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. I believe that they did that in order to just drag the puck until after the election. Well, the Supremes are going to drop the decision tomorrow morning. And I believe there's going to be stuff in there that people will be truly offended by. And at the very least, if there's an instruction from Ford to that woman to do what she did, he has been trying to distance himself from it for 4 years now. It could very well be in there that he can no longer get away with that. These are the things that affect elections. Nurses getting thrown to the pavement by the Premier's security detail and getting a concussion. These are the things that affect people's decision-making. So just because the polls say what they say, and just because there's a whole bunch of pundits out there telling you what you're going to do and what everybody else is going to do, grit your teeth, because there's 2 weeks of this election left, and lots of things can happen. So, you know, we are going to continue to do what we do. It is having an impact. I got a text from a former conservative MPP just earlier this evening who had seen some of Rhonda's antics up in Ottawa and was so wonderfully impressed. And he just said, keep it up. It's working. You're going to drive her crazy. Even if that's all we do, she could use some crazy and repay for all the crazy she's caused us. But there it is. You know, we've got 2 weeks to really push. Now's it. If you're ever going to do anything at a time, this is it.
Yeah, right now is the time. And yeah, I agree. I think we have them on the run, and we got to keep at it. So moving forward, I'd like to go over to Sarah now, because she was talking a bit about volunteers, but there's some other things, the letters to the neighbors, that Sarah can discuss.
Absolutely. So you'll notice on the main page, I've got a post up for letter to your neighbor, and we have a bunch of different options. Excuse my video delay. I hope it's working with my voice here. So there's a bunch of different formats that you can download the letter to. And the best thing that you can do is personalize it as much as possible. So go in, add a paragraph, add a couple things. I'm not saying divulge every little tiny secret about your life and what you're going through, but this is a grassroots approach. You're going to print out this letter. You're going to go to your neighbors. You're going to talk to your neighbors. You're going to let them know that, hey, you've heard about this autism issue. You've heard about what's happening in the past 4 years. That's me. That's my family. That's my children. It's us it's happening to. We're putting a face to those numbers on the wait list. We're taking the bureaucracy and the numbers out of it, and we're putting a face to it and personalizing it. So that's what these letters are for. So go to the people in your building, go to the people on your street, your neighbors. If you can't physically get out, I've spoken to some parents who have like 3-month-old babies. They're not getting out right now. But you can also take that letter and email it to people, email it to your friends and family. There's a lot of different options that you can use. You can do, I know somebody who talked to me tonight who might be looking to put it in the mail in their area. So they're going through Canada Post and mailing them all out to their area. And again, it's just another way to advocate. And you need this. We need to change minds, and we need to bring our voices forward in a more personal way to the people around us, to the voters, to the people who are going to vote, because the politicians know. I mean, with the 4 of us sitting here, have met with more ministers and more ministry staff than we could possibly even tell you about. They know what we need. And what we can do now is try and affect change by affecting voters and making our children a priority for other people, because I've said it before, many other people have said it. Autism is not just something that affects the autism community. It spans realms. Education, we have tons of education workers that come out to our rallies in support. There's a reason for that. Healthcare, ODSP, housing. None of us are one issue election people, right? And that's what we need to tell people too. We're not just thinking about ourselves. You know, the money that was committed to the autism program has been habitually underspent. That's not fiscally responsible. We all know that there's wastes in the budget, right? That some kids get too much, some kids don't get enough. That's not fiscal responsibility. The PCs like to promote their fiscal responsibility. These are not opinions. These are facts. We have the receipts to cash on these things. So, letter to your neighbor. Print it out, add your own spin on it. There's 2 versions. It all depends on whether you want to mention Ford or not, and you don't even need to. It's just about letting people know, the past 4 years, my child's on a wait list. They're not getting the support they need. Maybe some of the issues that you're dealing with. Again, you don't have to let people know too much, but just enough to put a face to those numbers. And I think that's really, I mean, Bruce knows this. Bruce is a big proponent of this project, and rightfully so, because it's an old approach that has worked.
It's
You know what
been
I was just
done
thinking, Sarah?
successfully. It's been done successfully in a lot of different places. Obama's people did this. Naheed Nenshi's people in Calgary did this when he was running for mayor both times. Those of you that follow American politics, there were 2 upset Senate races in Georgia last cycle, and the so-called Georgia Peaches, a bunch of moms that got together to effect change. This is one of the techniques that they use. It's really effective. And listen, you know, taking it to your neighbors, listen, you can stick it in the mailbox or you can talk to them. If you're going to stick it in the mailbox, make absolutely sure you stick it in the mailboxes that have PC signs on their lawns, please, because those are the people we need to reach most. I think every one of us has probably got 7 or 8 stories about, you know, actually talking to Tories and they find it, I didn't know it was that bad. Well, you know what? We're up against the government communications machine. This brings it under the radar in human terms by somebody that the recipient probably knows, they know you, and that they know you live in their neighborhood, and holy crap, that's real.
Well, you bring them to a play group. You bring them to all your friends at a play group. You bring them to your kid's soccer game. You bring them, like, there's a lot of stuff going on in the next 2 weeks that you don't have to even just go in your neighborhood. You know, anywhere you're going to meet, people need to know what's going on. And Kate,
That's what I was going to say, actually. Because my riding is not likely to go conservative. It's been liberal forever. And I don't think anyone's beating John Fraser. So there's not really any point for me to do my neighbors, but I was thinking about it, and I know lots of people sorry, Bruce, cover your ears, in Lisa McLeod's riding, who I don't talk to that much anymore, but I could certainly reach out and give them the letter and just encourage them to not vote for her, right? So yeah, it doesn't have to be your actual neighbors. It could be anybody. So, and specifically those ridings that, you know, we're targeting, or that's even beneficial.
And just a reminder, this has been a really long 4 years. And here at the OAC, we are nonpartisan and we are willing to work with everyone and anyone. And we have done that. But at the end of these 4 years, the proof is in the pudding. And what's happened to our kids is a doubled wait list, families in crisis, and it's just going to continue. So the reality is people need to know that this is, like, our kids cannot afford another 4 years of what they've just gone through. They just can't.
No, they cannot.
I think that's if I can jump in on that, Sarah, like we're sitting here, we're talking about being we're a nonpartisan group, but right now we're very targeted towards Ford. And I think it's important for everyone to know is why. And I mean, historically, those of us who have been around for a long time know that we didn't have a perfect system under the Liberals. That's when you know, Ford came in, I mean, there was certainly the opportunity to change things, but the way that they've changed is not going to benefit anyone long term. I mean, those who have had the distinct pleasure of being in the Twitter group may have listened to me rant on multiple occasions about what's necessarily wrong with the OAP. And I think the premise of it, or the crux of it, is that no one in this government has taken the time to really sit down, see our families, address what we need, approach children from like an individualized perspective, to actually ask, right? Like what Ford did was take money and just toss it out. We want to talk about fiscal responsibility, like that is fiscal irresponsibility. But at the end of the day, even if maybe your family was fortunate enough to receive a chunk of money that met, like it aligned with what your child needed, then great. That was haphazard. That wasn't intentional. What should be happening is people should be sitting down with your family and your child, looking at clinical recommendations, taking those seriously and giving a damn enough to ask what your child needs and then trying to make that happen. Your kids are numbers to these people. And what we need at this point is a restart. Will the next government be perfect? Who the hell knows? But it's where we're at with
Can't be worse.
It cannot be worse. Where we are right now is we are pushing up against an age-based program. And what we've been told repeatedly by the advisory panel that this government assembled was that it cannot be age-based, and they are moving forward with age-based and have the gall and the audacity to call it needs-based. It is still an age-based program. So I cannot see these folks rolling over on that anytime soon. We're certainly going to continue to push to get rid of age-based funding, regardless of who forms government. But I think the best shot that we have right now is to play one party against the other, continue to advocate with the other parties, encourage them to not destroy the OAP again, not take 4 years to rebuild it, not toss 50,000 kids aside while they do so, and build on what currently exists. Exactly what Ford should have done when they took office. They could have made changes to the Liberal program, which was truly needs-based, but wasn't serving enough children and wasn't sustainable. They could have made edits to that. They could have made improvements, and they chose not to. They chose to blow it up and effectively create a lost generation of children who will age out of funding brackets while they're on a wait list. We need new people. And that's why we're talking about this. We need a change. And this is why it's important to tell people this, because this government has treated our children like numbers. And we can't have our neighbors thinking of our children as numbers either. And what we don't know is, if your neighbor has a blue lawn sign on their front lawn, that may be because it was the first door knocker to come and ask them if they could put a lawn sign on their front lawn. You don't know if these people are, if your neighbors are, hardcore conservatives and will vote conservative no matter what, or, if they're right on the edge. Like, you have to take that opportunity to try to flip and to try to educate people. One thing that we've done really, really effectively is make autism an election issue. If anything else, this was a goal, was to make it something that sat in the public eye. And what is happening now? We have media outlets coming to us, asking us our take on things. Why? Because we're just as important as the teachers and the nurses and everyone else who is upset with this government. This is an election issue. And it is, because we're talking about it. So where were we? Sorry, that was a mini rant.
We were just finishing up
great.
with letter to the neighbor, but that you're right, Carrie, and that's exactly it, is that it's worth it to go out to talk to those people, because my son matters. I would do anything for my son. I would do anything for your children and everybody else's, because they deserve it. So this is an opportunity that we can do that. We also have a bunch of other initiatives that I know I'll throw it to Kate. And
yeah, well, and I wanted to just kind of quickly mention, just because I thought the timing was right, that later in the week, is it Friday, Bruce, that you're doing another live with Angela and Alina? Is that?
I just spoke to my poor suffering spouse, and the date is now May 31.
Oh, May 31. Okay.
May 31st, the executive.
In the meantime, I'm going to put a couple of links up in the group for people who are looking to find what the various parties have to say about the autism file, and that you can sort through for yourself. But the exec, and I guess me, and I don't exactly know the format, but May 31st, stay tuned for a Facebook Live that we're going to take those things apart in advance of Election Day. And
because we've been having a lot of questions from people. Like, we're obviously talking a lot about what the Ford government is doing wrong or just isn't doing for us, but we're not talking a lot about what the other parties are proposing that they would do. So that'll be a chance for another live for them to discuss that. In the meantime, if people are curious, there is a really good CBC article that was posted in the group just yesterday, I believe it was. A CBC reporter had come to our protest on the weekend, And I thought she was just going to write an article about us protesting, but she actually went into it quite in depthly and spoke with members of different parties and got some information, a little bit anyway, on what they were proposing for the autism program. So you could check that out in the meantime. But moving right along, I'm going to go over to Bruce again to talk about the letters to the editor and as well the flyers that we have done up.
Sure. Well, the letter to the editor is very similar to what Sarah's described as the letter to your neighbor, except it's to the editor of your local community newspaper or daily newspaper. And it's something you can just download. We'll have it on the website and in the group shortly after this live is over. You can download it. You can use it in its present state because it touches on all of the issues. Or if you wish, you can customize it and add a little bit of personal information about how the current situation is affecting your family, your kids, etc. And again, that is only to the extent that you're comfortable with. You don't need to do it. It does help, but this will work just fine if you don't. So don't let that hold you back. It's not something you need to do. And then get it into your local community newspapers and local newspapers, dailies, weeklies, whatever they might be. And they run this stuff and people do read it. And it's just another way that we can get the message out that, well, 50K is not okay. Oh, and the flyers, right. You see, I'm actually on tonight. We're getting a couple of batches of flyers printed. The face of it is the graphic that you are now familiar with, the Sky Dome shot with the capacity of the Sky Dome held up against the size of the wait list. And of course, all these poor kids can't get to go see a ball game together. So we're going to get a batch printed in Ottawa. We're getting another batch printed in Toronto. Those are going to be available primarily for something you're going to hear of in a moment or three, the day of action, which is going to be fun. But they're going to be around. And if you want to flyer a parking lot, flyer your building, we'll get some to you and let her rip.
Sounds good. Moving along to Carrie to talk about what's happening on Twitter.
Oh boy, I'll try not to talk too much. I'm sorry, guys. So Twitter is a wonderful place and a terrible place at the same time, but it's a wonderful place to sort of get a message out, to say what's on your mind, and to get the attention of stakeholders and other advocacy groups and the media and sometimes politicians, certainly the opposition. In any case, we have been, since forever, engaging in Twitter storms. So for those that aren't familiar with a Twitter storm and aren't familiar with Twitter, I guess, essentially this is a short, brief message, statement, or otherwise that you're putting out into the universe and tagging the appropriate people, attaching a hashtag, which essentially labels your statement with a theme that can be connected to similar statements that have similar themes. We have been holding Twitter storms, and anytime anything particularly terrible happens, which is a lot, we'll take to Twitter. And the more people that do this at the same time, talking about the same thing, the better it is. So what the goal is to use our hashtag, which is 50K is not okay. And we also use the hashtag OnPoli, which is Ontario Politics, ONPOLI. We try to use that hashtag as much as we possibly can within a set period of time. So if we can do that, and we have a lot of people using it, a lot of people retweeting, which is just pushing the same message back out into the universe for more people to see, the better that is. We essentially climb trending lists. And the main page of Twitter is a list of topics that are trending. This is what people are talking about. It's what's important. It's what's relevant. It's what's current. It's what people are talking about and what they're looking at. So what we have done is every Friday evening, Alina is the one who kickstarted this, Alina Cameron. So we started Twitter storming about, well, 50K is not okay in as we led up to the election. So every Friday night at 9 p.m. We hit Twitter and we do it together. And again, what's important is that we tweet as much as we can, as frequently as we can, with as many people as we can, as consistently as we can over, you know, a set period of time. The most people talking about it at the same time. So it's always helpful to tweet about 50K is not okay, but it is most helpful to do it when 1,000 other people are doing it, because that gets us on the trending list and it makes sure that more people see our message. And depending on how, you know, you frame that message, other people might see it. It's important that we hook up with other advocacy groups, as Sarah was mentioning earlier. I mean, autism touches a lot of things, education and special education, and, you know, like educational assistants and teachers and healthcare, and like ODSP is a big one right now. It's important to hook up with those other advocacy groups. So we have been very, very successful. We had the idea, I don't know, about a month and a half ago to create a Twitter team, because what was happening was we had the same bunch of people who were reliable to hit Twitter at the same time on a Friday evening. We thought, if only we could just, you know, double or triple the amount of people, even if they weren't creating content. If you don't know what to say, maybe we could just have people that would come on and retweet, which is just clicking a button, or retweeting with a hashtag, which again is just copy paste, click a button. And if we had that many more people pushing our message out, we could amplify it that much more. So we have 130 people who have donated their time, sort of commit as much as they could when they could. No hard commitments here, but the best is if you could manage to do it on a Friday. And again, as Bruce mentioned, now is the time. Now is the time, even if it's just for 2 more weeks. So we have this group of folks that have been hitting Twitter. So we've been doing 2 things. The Twitter storms is the first. The second is we have been taking graphics of our sign. So as encouraging as it is to live, and I live in a riding again where we have put signs on every corner. And let me tell you, when I see those big blue Lisa McLeod signs at a major intersection, as I'm driving by, it's, and then when you see the little white OAC sign placed so strategically in front of it, it just makes your heart do this. People are seeing that, and I know that people feel that same way. And then when you see the big ones, you're like, yes. And it shouldn't surprise you, because I'm the one that put it there. I know it's there, but it still surprises me every time I see it. And it just, it makes me feel seen. And again, I'm the one that put it there, but I know that other people are seeing and feeling this same thing. Seeing those signs is amazing. It's uplifting. I know that other people are seeing these. People are like, I mean, when I'm putting them up, I walk with those signs held in front of my chest as I go through the intersection for the cars who are parked at the red lights to see. And that is so, so important. And people come and they ask what you're doing, and it's so important. So we're doing the same thing on Twitter. We're taking those images of the sign, the exact same image, and we are going and we are searching for Ford's hashtag, which is hashtag get it done. And we have a list of all of the PC candidates. And every time they post on Twitter that they're doing something fabulous, we go to the comments section and we pop our image there and we add our hashtag and on Polly, and people see that. So when you go to reply to any one of these PC tweets about what they're building and what they're getting done and all the amazing things they've done, 50K is not okay. And let me tell you, when you see those posts and they make you angry, and you see that the first thing that comes up underneath that is our sign, that's important. We're putting signs over the online community. So we do that throughout the week. We do that throughout the week. And so that's our mini challenge. So like, this is not hard. You don't have to have anything amazing to say. You don't have to be funny or clever or whatever. You just have to put the picture of our sign on a PC tweet, and damn, it feels good, because then other people start doing it too. And people start adding, oh yeah, they suck. And it's like, oh yeah, that's good. And you're starting a conversation. So it's the same thing as putting signs in your neighborhood. It's putting signs on the online neighborhood. Now, the big thing, I've gone too long, I'm sorry. The big thing is we've got the big
Dun,
storm
dun,
coming. Shiver me timbers. There she blows. Like this is what's coming. So on the 27th, now today is what? Today is Wednesday.
18th.
18th.
Wednesday. Today's a Wednesday? No,
Yeah.
today's Thursday. What day is it today? Oh my
It's
gosh.
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 18th.
Wednesday. Okay. Thank you. So today's Wednesday. On Friday, we'll have our regular Twitter storm. Join us at 9 p.m. If you'd like to get involved with Twitter, just message me and I'll hook you up. It's an awesome group. Anyway, the 27th, which is next Friday, not this one, but the next one, we're having the big Twitter storm. So what we're doing, Alina Cameron on Twitter storm nights sits at her computer, and she's got like it's like the hub. She's got all of these things running. I won't
I
pretend
think
to
she
know how
calls
they
it
work.
Command Central, doesn't she?
Command Central. So she's running this stuff. Who knows? It's fancy, it's technical, whatever. I'm just tweeting on the other end. But what Alina's doing is she's watching to see how much activity there is, how many tweets are getting out into the universe, how many people are retweeting, the amount of people that we're reaching. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of people seeing this, tens of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands.
I was going to jump in and point this out. She's a numbers geek, but the Friday before last,
700,000.
758,000 reach. 750,000 people saw our stuff based on what 130 did. If we had 140, 150, wow, you know, like we're killing it. These people are rocking the world.
It's just another way to be seen. So what Alina does is she's watching to see these numbers, and this is Bruce's idea. What we thought was, it's like, oh, okay, well, over the course of an hour on a Friday evening, maybe we tweet out 7,000 times or 8,000 times. And we have had a couple of days where we've hit 10,000 times over the course of an hour where our hashtag was being used. What if we could, over the course of a day, have our hashtag used once for every child that is on the wait list? Not so long ago, we had Jessica in London host the spin-a-thon to raise funds for the OAC, where we were spinning, and I rode my bike that day, and it was a minute for every child that was on the wait list. So in the same vein there, how about we try to use that hashtag 53,000 times over the course of a 24-hour period? So that's what we're doing on Friday the 27th. And this is leading into another big day. So on Friday the 27th, whether you join us at 9, which will be the eye of the storm, where it'll be just as busy, where everybody will focus their time. And by the way, there are ways that you can program your tweets. So if you're not available at that specific time, you can still be tweeting. We're going to try to tweet all day. We need as many people as possible. If you've been on the brink of like, maybe I'll get myself a Twitter account, maybe I could help with this, this is what we need you for. It's next Friday. Think about it now, and then message me, and I'll get you in the group, and we're going to get our team ready to go for next Friday.
Something into perspective for that, Carrie.
Pardon me?
We have 14,000 people on the OAC Facebook page. If
15,000 as of
15,000, we've got 15,000. If each person only sent out 3 tweets that whole 24 hours, we just reached our goal.
We did. So again, similar to what Bruce said earlier, if you're watching this right now, if you're like, oh man, we know it's tough. We know it's tough. We know it takes a lot to take that step to get involved. We know that you're tired, drained, like there's been a lot going on the past couple of years, but if you can pull it together.
We need it now.
This is when you can help, even if it's to sign up for Twitter, which by the way, takes less than a minute to sign up for Twitter. It takes longer to download the app onto your phone if you sent out one tweet. And let me tell you, if you start, you're not going to stop, because it's really cool.
I was just going to say, for people who aren't on Twitter already, we have a little side group for people who are a part of this Twitter team. And there were some videos made, some very good how-to videos. So for people who haven't been on Twitter before, you will get you in this group, and you can go back and watch these videos and see and have it, literally shown to you exactly what you have to do to create an account. It's free, and really just we're not even asking you, as Carrie has already said, to come up with something witty or cool or anything like that. Even just to go on and retweet what other people are doing is very helpful. And that's often a great way to start as you get more comfortable with the platform. So.
Yeah, and that's Alina Cameron that made those videos. So there's certainly, like Kate mentioned, we have a side group. And Alina has been teaching using what's it? Loom? Is it Loom? Loom, yeah. So it's essentially, you can see what she's doing, and then you see her sweet little face down in the corner talking to you, and she's showing you what's going on. All to say is we have it set up so that you can participate with very minimal effort. Like Bruce said earlier, the things that we are asking people to do have tremendous impact. They have the most impact when we do them together, but we've done it knowing that people are tired, frustrated, unwilling to take on more, apprehensive. We've made it easy, is the point. So next Friday, we've got our really big Twitter storm, basically looking for people to tweet throughout the entire day, but focusing your attention at 9 p.m. as we do every Friday night. And
certainly, why wait till next week? If you're interested in joining,
run this week.
This Friday night.
Practice this week. So if you're
100%.
watching this right now and you think, okay, maybe that's something I could do, maybe drop a comment on the post here of the Facebook Live, and we'll send you an invite to the Twitter group where you could then get started with the videos, perhaps to
practice run tonight and the big show next Friday, or practice run this Friday, big show next Friday. You can do this. You can do this.
There's more payoff than just, the trending results that we get. I don't know how many of you really paid attention to Carrie as she was telling you how excited she is, what it does for her when she sees a sign that she put up.
It feels so good.
Did that woman look happy? Did she look excited? Did she look revved? Like, it's great. You will feel good if you do this, because it lets it out of you.
That's a guarantee.
Don't build it up. Don't hold it in. Let it out. And this is an excellent way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Endorphins,
we are at about an hour into this. I thought, we'll probably be like a half an hour, 45 minutes, but
Kate, you invited me.
We all
you
like
invited
me. It's
me.
not just you, Carrie. It's not just you. But we are getting close to the end. We've got one really big thing to talk about. And I'm going to bring this over to Sarah to do the introduction to our one big, really exciting thing.
Yes. So Carrie just mentioned about the big Twitter storm on the 27th. On the 28th, we've got something big happening, and it's happening all over the province. And so we're calling this our big advocacy weekend. This is wrapping everything we've done up with a big, shiny, whatever color you're voting for, bow. Not blue. And it's all culminating with our day of action. So what's happening around our province? And we need you everywhere in this province to show up on May 28th. So on May 28th, there's going to be protests and rallies run all over Ontario. We're running them in solidarity with one another. So they're not necessarily at the same time. It's whatever works for the people in each community. But we started with only 4 2 days ago. We're already at 9, and we're adding more locations every day. So we've got one in Sudbury, one in Thunder Bay, in Ottawa, in Brockville, Sault Ste. Marie, Durham, Toronto, Mississauga Lakeshore, and London St. Thomas. So come out with your signs. We've got all, and here's a great opportunity. Yes, we are sold out of signs, and thank you everybody who's purchased one. Thank you everyone who's taken all their time to put them up. But we've got PDFs pinned to the top of the OAC Facebook page. You can print out signs, put them on a poster board. Even if you can't think of something to say, put that 50K is not okay. Ford doubled the autism wait list. Put that on a Bristol board, a couple times even. It would look really good. Bring them out, show up. So I'm organizing in Sudbury, and what all the organizers are doing, we're going to be sending out press releases. There's going to be media there. We're going to have people talking to the media, and it's going to get out there. We're going to have people, even if, like, you know, in some of our regions, they might not be a PC stronghold. That's not the point. The point is to get out there and get voters to know what's been happening and what's going on. And just the empowerment of it happening all across Ontario. I'm super, super excited. And it's an advocacy weekend, right? You start with the Twitter storm and then you do your day of action. So in Sudbury, I am organizing the rally in the Sudbury area. I actually have a day and time. So we're doing on the 28th from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. on the corner of Barrydown and LaSalle, right in front of the Swiss Chalet. There's a huge parking lot there. So even if you have your kids with you and you need to sit back a little bit, you're okay to be there. And we actually have a special guest. We have one of the Ottawa crew that we're borrowing for the weekend. She's going to be up in Sudbury. So I'm super, Sophie.
Carrie hasn't been told about
Sophie
this.
Barrett's coming to Sudbury. So I'm really, yes, I'm really excited to meet her in person. I'm really excited. Like, this is what's happening, right? This is what's happening. This is the community that we've built of people. Sophie's coming to Sudbury. Oh, you're holding a protest? I'm in. You know, like it's incredible. So right now on the page, there's a post that I'm updating all the time. And I've got Alina helping out because she's our, you know, social media maven. She's posting everywhere else on social media as kind of a save the date for May 28th, showing what areas have a protest being organized right now. So what's going to happen is we haven't firmed up all of the locations and times for everyone, like where it's going to be. But by this weekend, anything that we have posted, we will have times and places for. So be on the lookout for a brand new post. I'm going to post it in the main one too that I have that has that nice big Ontario sign with all the protesters in it. We're going to keep it up to date there as well. So show up. If you need some help, if you're interested, even if it's just a couple people in your area, you're in a small town, you want to start
One
something.
person is all that it takes.
Look what Rhonda's doing. That's all it takes, right?
Person.
But if you want some help, you want some help connecting with the media, how to do a release, we can do that for you. We have a comms committee here, which I'm also on, for the Ontario Autism Coalition, and we can help you guys out. Just reach out to me and let me know. So we do have some people mentioning like, oh, what about here? What about here? What about here? Great. That's cool that you're interested. But what we need right now is people to step up and people to organize those rallies. But we're here to help you. We have how-tos. We've got the whole kit for you. Whatever you need, we're here for you. So we've also got 3 other people on this live with me. And those are 2 more of the categories, 2 more of the places holding protests on the 28th. So let's jump to Bruce first, and then we can end with our Ottawa girls. Sound good?
Mississauga Lakeshore, right out in front of Rudy Cazzetto's campaign office, 1 till 3 p.m. We've got a bunch of people coming, Laura and I, of course, and you know, basically anybody in the riding who bought a sign, and some of the, you know, really active people on Facebook and so on. But we're already up, I think 9, maybe even 10. And it's just going to get bigger in the next week and a half. So come, and, you know, we're fun people. We'll have music, we'll have signs, we'll have bottles of water, and, you know, and if enough of you come, I won't sing.
That right there is worth it. Show up, people. Help everyone else who shows up.
In Ottawa, we haven't fully decided on everything. We know it's probably going to be in the late morning, and I think we decided that it would it made sense to be at Fullerton's, Marilee Fullerton's place, given that she is the person in charge of the autism file. So that's what we think we're going to do. But because we're, organizing protests in between now and then, we're kind of doing one thing at a time. But we will have that exact info for you soon, Sarah. We had contemplated in Ottawa whether we might split up and do multiple locations, but I think we've kind of decided that one big, strong show of force in one spot might be best. I was going to say, and I don't know if any of you remember this, Bruce, you might, we did this in 2019.
Yes.
We had a day of action. Do you remember how many
August
protests?
6th. I think we ended up with 42. I remember thinking at the time that we had about two-thirds of the PC ridings.
Yeah.
So
that's powerful. And we got a lot of media that day. Yeah. So, I mean, as Sarah said, it's two things. For those of you who are living in a region where there's already one planned, all of those towns and cities that Sarah mentioned, I'm assuming we're probably going to post actual events maybe on the OAC page so people can sign up and then be in contact with the person that's organizing. So that'll be coming. But so it's showing up to the events that are already taking place, but we need, and we would love for more to happen. So in Toronto proper, for instance, I don't know, is Mississauga considered Toronto proper? It's part of the GTA.
The folks that live here sure wouldn't. We're not in the six. Yeah. There's the Toronto situation isn't as focused as other places right now. There's a sizable group that want to go to Ford's office. Can't blame them. But there is a target riding in Toronto, that being Eglinton Lawrence, that's held by Robin Martin, and she only won it by a few hundred votes. And before that, it was Liberal for as long as anybody can remember. It's the most likely riding in the city to flip back. So, that's another place to be. But honestly, if doing your own riding is more convenient for you, then do that. The point is to get a lot of people out, and whatever's going to make that the easiest thing to do. If we get a lot of people out in a lot of different places, the more successful we will be.
And again, I have to add to, like, again, what Rhonda did this week is, like, Rhonda lives on the other end of Ottawa, like where the PCs is all on like the west south end, and the other side of Ottawa is liberal NDP. Rhonda goes with a sign and just plants her feet and stands there with her sign. And hey, maybe you stay for half an hour, maybe you stay for an hour, maybe you stay for 15 minutes. It's still a protest. People will still see you. And what's important is that, we can create our own media. Take a picture of yourself, and we can add that to our social media.
I was just going to say that all I want to see on the OAC page on Saturday is pictures of the protests. Let's fill it up.
Bring a friend with you. Bring a friend who doesn't have a child with autism. Bring your parents. Bring the grandparents. Just go and stand there, because we create our own media and we tweet that out and people see that, and it's forever. Right. So I don't know, guys. I'm thinking almost maybe could we put a list of all of the candidates up onto our main page? Hey, the PCs have candidates in all 124 ridings. That means that there are 124 opportunity to staff protests. I wonder if we can, like we said back in 2019, how many did we have? I'm wondering if we could rival that. Right. Just go and stand with your sign.
I think we can top it. And I think that for a bunch of reasons. I think that because we have far more people in our Facebook group now than we ever have before. And I think that because people are frustrated and fed up. And I mean, good heavens, we have all been in the spot, each of us at some point, of being the new parent and being just overwhelmed by all of this and looking ahead at what's in store for your kid. And the worry is just it makes your head blow up. Parents that are getting diagnosis today, they're not even going to get they're not going to get a one-time interim. They're not even going to get that.
There's
They're on
nothing
a
fixed.
list,
There's nothing
and they're
fixed.
at the back end
Yep.
of 53,000 kids. And keep in mind, guys, these people have not met a deadline yet, including the self-imposed ones. And they haven't delivered a single thing to the level, to the specification they promised it. Not one in all these years. So why would we start believing now? Well, that's what these parents are looking at. So if you felt it, they're really feeling it right now. We got to stick together. We got to look after one another and stand up for each other's kids.
I think we kind of said that if your child was getting diagnosed around now, given the timeline that the PCs are giving us, if they were to do 8,000 kids a year, which I don't even think they could, but if they did, we'd be looking at a child getting diagnosed right now, we're looking at about 8 years, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. How about that?
7 or 8 years.
Already.
Progress? Not hardly. My guy was on the wait list for 3.5.
It's not fixed.
And that's
it's
in the
so
dark
important.
ages.
It's so important,
listen.
guys, to realize, this interim one-time funding, interim, it has an expiration date. The only thing that the PCs have been very, very good at is not telling you that the core services that they've promised don't come immediately. There's a wait. All of this interim one-time funding that has been passed out, there's an expiration date. Once it's gone, there's nothing but wait list in front of you. And again, very, very convenient of them to not articulate that you'll have your interim one-time funding and you'll transition to core services. There may be 6 years in between.
So this
They
is the
left
time
the
for
most
action,
important
people.
things
It's
for
now.
last.
We need your help now. We've got all of these things going on. We've got the letter to your neighbor. We've got the letter to the editor. We've got Twitter storms. We have protests happening. We have single people protests happening. And we have our big advocacy in action weekend, the 27th and the 28th. And we need you now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to message me. Send me an email, Sarah, SARA at OntarioAutismCoalition.com. I can get you the information you need, and I can help connect you with any of these lovely people here and everybody else who's doing all the really hard work in front of the camera and behind the scenes here at the OAC. We care about you. We care about our kids. We care about your kids. And that's what we're here for. Kate?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think we've kind of gone over all the upcoming things and all the past things. And yeah, just to reiterate once again that we only have 2 weeks left to do this. And, my goodness, my birthday's on June 3rd. I don't know if I've told you guys all that. So June 2nd.
Let's get Kate a new premier for her birthday.
Do it for Kate.
Or
Get
at a new
Kate
be
a
able to
present.
really celebrate or not. But I'm really hoping I can celebrate because
Kate, what do you want for your birthday, Kate?
I want a new government. Is that too much to ask?
Nope.
If it wasn't a new government,
Maybe I
you
should
have
make
like a
sign.
second choice.
I should make a sign. That'll be my new sign. My birthday's June 3rd. I'm asking for a new government. Anyway, to get this done, we need your help. We've got a lot of people who are doing some great stuff. Some of it, as Sarah said, either on camera or going out and protesting. And others who are at home tweeting and doing what they can from home. We need more people to do both those things, specifically for the next 2 weeks. And, the one thing we didn't mention, we've talked about the day of action. Yes, we would love to get people out on that day. But between now and then, if you're in an area and you think there's nothing going on here, there's been no protests, go for it. Like, we will help you. Like Sarah said, reach out to any of us. We will make sure that your posts on OAC to try and, you know, drum up some people to join you. Can give you advice on maybe how to get some media attention. There's lots of things we can do. We just need the people to do them.
And
we
Kate,
need it,
if I can, I want to add just the smallest of things, and I know that that's always
go,
being
girl.
done with me, but I do want to say, like, what the people that you see here and the people that you see typically posting on the OAC, like, we're here. There's more than just the four of us. There's a lot of us that you see visibly. There's more standing behind us that you don't see on the camera that often. But what I really want to say is, you know, we're asking for your help right now, but I want to say thank you to the new parents who have stepped up, because we have had a lot of new people. And let me tell you, that is so encouraging when you have someone new just arrive with all of everything, just ready to go for it. And that's what we need, is this next wave of people who know how messed up this is, who know how important this is, who know the value of advocacy. And like, for those of us that you see, or these faces that you see a lot of, like, this is what gives us the drive. And it's just so wonderful to have those new people step up and just step up in such a big way, or a small way, but a big way too. So thank you.
You know, I was
Big
telling
as you
Bruce
can
the other
manage.
day, this is maybe a good way to finish off. And I'm not going to out her, but one of our newer moms to advocacy that Carrie and I know in Ottawa, that's been helping out a lot with the signs. She told me last week, we were talking, and she said, you know, I realized, like, I found my people. And, you know, and it's so true. Like, I have amazing friends from high school and old coworkers, and I'm still friends with them, but they don't get it the way you folks do. And being able to sort of be part of a movement, I know it sounds so cheesy, but it's a movement.
True.
And we're doing it for our kids, and it brings us together, and it makes us bond in a way that it's hard to describe and compare it to anything else. So I know it's hard to, like, kind of say, okay, I'm going to go to that protest where I don't know one single person, but you will likely meet a bunch of friends that you're going to be friends with for a long
You're already with family.
Oh yeah.
Guess what? You're already with family.
Yeah.
Exactly. And on that note, I think, because we've been talking for close to an hour and a half, and I'm be surprised if anyone's even still with us. But I think we can sign off for now. And thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. Mwah.